Hi, my name is Nick Weiss. I am the founding attorney and managing attorney of NP Weiss Law with offices in Elyria and South Euclid, Ohio. We are almost to the Christmas break. We just got through Thanksgiving, and so we've already had a couple of these issues. But what I wanted to talk about today is disputes in parenting time around the holiday schedule, in particular, when we have one former spouse or one parent who is refusing to actually abide by the holiday schedule. Maybe they're not bringing them over. Maybe they're not making them available. Maybe they're not letting them make that court-ordered phone call that you have. This, sadly, is a far more common experience than we would all like, especially around the holidays. So what can you do? In the immediate term, there's nothing that I can do. There's nothing that the lawyer can do. But there are things that you can do to make it easier for me and for the staff and your attorney to fix the situation after the fact. What does that mean? Hopefully, you have some kind of communications. Maybe that's by text. Maybe that's with a dedicated family messaging app like Our Family Wizard. All right, use it. Make our job easy. Document that the other side is not abiding by your court-ordered agreement or judicial entry, right? That sets up your parenting schedule. Be reasonable, be calm, ask that they do that, tell them there could be consequences if they don't do that. Don't use crazy language, don't swear, don't go over the top. Assume a judge is going to read these documents, going to read these texts. You want to look like the most reasonable person in the room, okay? If that doesn't work with those requests, even with implied threats of future legal action, don't work, you have them. So after the holiday, you come back, you come to your lawyer, and you say, I want you to fix this. And what we can do is we can file what's called a motion to show cause, right? And that's a shorthand for a motion to show cause, why they should not be sanctioned by the court, why there should not be some consequence, some discipline to that parent for, in most cases, intentionally violating the parenting plan, violating the parenting order. And if you can establish that the other parent just didn't abide by that and didn't have a very good reason for doing that, and you have those documents, you have those texts, you have those messages to give to us, that makes it easier for us to ask for those sanctions. And the court had pretty broad discretion to figure out what those sanctions are. Makeup time is pretty common. Maybe the parent forfeits their next holiday, right? Something like that to make up for that, for make up for their bad acts. Attorney fees are very common as a sanction to the other side for making the parent who didn't get to see their kid over the holiday have to get me involved in the first place because the parent wasn't abiding by the parenting plan. Additional fines and fees if that amount of money isn't going to be sufficient to deter future conduct. Changes in the parenting plan itself. Court has broad discretion. So if it becomes clear that one parent isn't going to abide by the parenting plan, they can actually lose what parenting time they have, right? One of the factors, and we talked about this in another video, when we decide who's going to be residential parent and how much parenting time they give is the other parent actually going to abide by this parenting time order? Finally, although I've only seen this ever happen once, is jail time. If a parent is refusing to allow their child to come over, usually for an extended period of time, they can go to jail. Cuyahoga County has a little holding cell that they can put people in, right? And they can put them in jail for a couple of days if there are extraordinary violations of the parenting order. So that's a long way of saying that in the immediate term, we're not going to be much help. All we can do is file motions. All we can do is make threats. And those are post-breach remedies, things that are after the fact. But there are things that you can do in the immediate term. Make reasonable requests, appear reasonable, document your requests, and document either their non-response or their refusal to abide by the order. And then in that immediate term, you can give those things to us and make our job easier in getting you something for the other parent not abiding by that court order. Maybe it's money, maybe it's additional time, maybe it's a complete change in the parenting order. So if you have further questions about that, I hope you don't, and that your Christmas and New Year's plans go off without a hitch and all the parents abide by their order. But if they don't, and you have questions about that, feel free to give our office a call. One of the questions that I get a lot is, should I call the cops, right? Should I call the police if the other party isn't abiding by the court order? So this is a difference between can and should. If one parent isn't giving the kid back, that's technically kidnapping, right? Like, they don't have a right to keep that child. As a practical matter, however, most police officers, they will not see this as a criminal infraction. They will see this as a purely civil matter. They will say, go fight it out in domestic relations court. If you want to call the cops just to make a report, document the issue, give that to your attorney, etc., that's fine. But ultimately, it's probably not going to help, right? You can document that they're not giving your child back. That's usually through the text, that's through the Our Family Wizard app, what have you. In general, unless there's an actual risk of bodily harm to a child, calling the cops isn't going to get you very far.